Hello and welcome to another edition of Sonic without defeating a Badnik. This time, we're returning to Sonic the Hedgehog 2 to ask a few questions. Why not play without Tails? Where's Hidden Palace Zone? And what about Hidden Palace Zone? Alright then, let's do that, but not with the Genesis original, and definitely not with Sonic. This is the 2013 remake of Sonic 2, developed by Taxman and Stealth, and is considered to be the best version of the game, and is easily the most accessible version of Sonic 2 because it's on an App Store or Google Play Store. It runs on a different engine, so it won't contain some of the questionable glitches in the original. Let's get to the rules. Rule number 1, I cannot defeat a Badnik, and doing so will force me to restart the act. Rule number 2 is that I must defeat bosses and mini-bosses to make progress. The best part about this challenge is that the save system will allow me to restart from the exact same act, so restarting will be a lot easier. With that said, let's answer the question, can you beat Knuckles in Sonic 2 without defeating a Badnik? Let's get started. We start Emerald Hill Zone by jumping over the bridge with these two mashers, and instead of going to the bottom route, I jump over 2 yellow springs to get the speed shoes. After the double loops and corkscrew, I launched over a chunk of the level and landed on the bottom route to slam right into a masher. After that, I launched in the air to avoid more Badniks, and Act 1 is over. Oh hey, I got an achievement. Thanks, Google Play. Act 2 has me hitting this first yellow spring, to then go straight until I'm forced up by this other yellow spring. From there I get the checkpoint over the second of these 2 loops, and spring into a higher section. A double loop, a corkscrew, then a normal loop and a corkscrew, to then get to the boss. After defeating the Drill Eggman, Emerald Hill Zone is done. Chemical Plant Zone starts with me taking the lower path to this awesome looking wavy floor that leads to a loop. I then hopped over the red spring and snagged a 1-up by climbing this wall, and then I had a damage boost past the spiny to get past the 4 loops and jump into the pipe. After that, I jump over the blue chemical and Act 1 is done. Act 2 starts with me hopping over the spiny, going up high and getting into a pipe. After the loops, there's another pipe that I get into, and I manage to accidentally loop back to the first pipe. Damn. After returning to go downwards this time, I get sent into this area with the rotating blocks, and then I go into the hidden route so I can get to the Water Eggman boss. And with that, Chemical Plant is over. Aquatic Rune Zone is next, and I ran into the back of an arrow. Yeah, only I would do that. Then I glide over the grounder and continue to the higher path. Spin dash to grab the shield, and in this section, I jump over the platform, which takes me to a new layer in the act. Now I'm a bit stuck. This grounder will always be on the edge when I approach it, that is if I go too far back. So I just let it pass by, and I get flung into the red spring by this wisp. Good thing it was into the red spring because Act 1 is over. Act 2 starts, and I dropped into the water. I hit the yellow spring to just take off. I had a close call with the grounder at this bubble source, but I made it through. Then I was gliding to avoid getting hit by the 4 arrows, and then I was crushed. After that, one more damage boost and it's time to fight the Tonkatchi Eggman boss. Now, Aquatic Ruins is done. Casino Night Zone begins with taking these speed shoes, and was nearly crushed by this blue block. From there I moved a bit forward and got another pair of speed shoes, and then after this elevator, I take 2 launchers, did some platforming, and went through the hidden path in this wall. 2 elevators later, and the act is over. Okay, on to Act 2. And the perfect way to start it is to hit this red spring and then go for the ring box. I move forward until I get the speed shoes, use the flippers, and started climbing up this wall, and then dropped into this bumper section. After one more elevator and another drop, it's time to fight the Catcher Eggman. And with that, we can move on. Casino Night is done. Using the lifts and dodging the 2 spikers is how Hilltop Zone begins. I then go into this S-tube to get the invincibility, which I actually had to waste. So I took my time getting launched in the air and taking this lift down. I'd rather not risk anything. But now that I'm in the cave, I take the lift downwards to get through the spikes and the annoying red springs, all while avoiding the invincibility. I then squeeze through the lava section and launch myself up to the end of the act. Act 2 starts with taking the upper path and screwing up gliding to a wall, so I drop down to where this yellow spring is, dodge the Gola, which is basically a fire orbonaut, to then go inside the cave. I scaled up, moved on to the second cave, and then after the lifts, I made it to the first Submarine Eggman boss. After the worst looking fight against it, Hilltop Zone is done. Mystic Cave Zone starts with taking this upper route and then descending into this vine. Dodged the flasher and waited to glide over another one, then I hopped over to grab another vine. From there I get through this moving crusher and avoid the Crawltron. Dropped one more time and I activate the 2 levers to move on to the end of Act 1. Act 2 begins with going forward to take the swinging platforms, then I dropped. From there it's a straightforward path while dodging the Crawltrons and flashers. Activate a switch, hit the yellow spring, and then... oh crap. Hidden Palace Zone begins with me falling into the lowest part and avoiding the reds. From there I hit the red spring and I'm sent through a pipe to miss the platform above me. I went across the breakable platforms and decided to go more left, but turned back to get to this floating cylindrical platform, to then go to a zip line. Then I jump over the... oh my gosh, this shoots fire, it's so adorable! Where was I? Then I went forward to break this wall to encounter bat bots. Dove into the water and got to a checkpoint, but I ended up going into a special stage. Okay, with this run, I'm pretty sure I could get the emeralds, but that's not today's objective. Besides, you lose your rings when you finish a special stage, unlike the original. By the way, these special stages look amazing. After the special stage, I'm swatted by the spike ball and... wait, the green part hurts you too? See, that wouldn't happen in Super Mario World. Okay, that was just a joke, don't get mad. After the platform gets me out of the water, I break this fake emerald and use the red spring to get to the next checkpoint. I then take a yellow and later a red spring to get to the shield, and at last we're at the hidden palace boss. There's no name for it, so I'm just gonna call it the Trombone Eggman boss. Why is that? Because taking too long in this fight will guarantee you to be tromboned. After a grueling couple of minutes, Hidden Palace Zone is done. Oil Ocean Act 1 starts with me dodging this Octus, and then defeating a second one with a poorly timed jump. Attempt number 2, and I made it past the Octus. By the way, timing is key. Then I maneuver past these Aquuses, and now I go to another special stage. Spoiler alert, I don't go for them all. I need my rings for damage boosting. Afterwards, I have a near-death experience and then move past these launchers. Honestly, it's some platforming, dodging enemies that are in pairs, repeatedly until I get to this elevator, which had one Octus instead. After that, I get to the end. This is actually a pretty easy level. Act 2 starts with me falling into the oil, and then I figured traveling this way would actually be effective, because I would be traveling underneath the level. However, at some point, I should have known to start climbing, but I figured breaking the level like this would be better. It wasn't. Second attempt, and I successfully get through an Octus and 2 Aquuses. I was then launched into the section with the moving spikes. From there, I had to damage boost through a conveniently placed Aquus. Then I was launched again. Honestly, these things are pretty boring. I get through these descending platforms and damn it, it's another one of those things. Why did this stage come back to Mania again? Personal dislikes aside, I dodged the Octus and... right. I get to the final checkpoint and went back up this oil-covered slope to grab the shield, and now I'm at the second Submarine Eggman. And with that, Oil Ocean is done. Metropolis Zone. We meet again. So I start by grabbing some rings because I'll need them. Then I was blessed with this option to glide over a shellcracker. Afterwards I was hit by an exploding Asteron and fell down to grab another shield. Thankfully I can keep going lower to another route where I'm basically put back on track. It's like that Asteron was never there to catch me off guard. Like how this one did. This is why Knuckles is awesome, because why use the nut when I can just climb? Please don't take that out of context. From there, I can use his climbing ability to slowly descend, and then get to the section where I can glide over another shellcracker. From there, From there, I get past these small platforms to fall onto this moving platform. Oh hey, a slicer! Better drop down! No worries, because there's an area where I can bounce back to end Act 1. Act 2, and I forget that I can't fall through this platform without first taking damage. Then avoid this shellcracker and slicer to take forever to avoid getting crushed. From there, I went through these other moving platforms and got past these other shellcrackers to then fall in lava. I kept ascending, and now Act 2 is done. If you remember the original Sonic 2 without defeating a Badnik, you know that I used the glitch to avoid the shellcracker and got to the very end of the level. New engine means I'll need a new plan. Act 3 begins, and I take the higher path to glide over the shellcracker. Then I take this nut platform to then get poked by an Asteron. I try to get back to a higher route in this area, but it was all in vain. The gliding just doesn't work in this part. Then I got past this section with the spikes poking out on the floor to then avoid 2 slicers. Got into the moving platform while avoiding the sights and Asteron spikes, and now I'm in a bit of a tight space right here. There's a slicer in the way, and my first idea was to try to glide over it, only to glide directly into it. Okay, my second attempt, and I didn't even get to that point. I got to this section with the yellow wall springs, and knocked out a slicer. One more time. Attempt number 3, and I positioned this nut to catch me when I attempt a damage boost past the slicer. Let's just say, it was a close call, but I got it. But now I'm at the Flying Eggman boss, and Metropolis Zone is done. Thank goodness. Sky Chase Zone is a 2-minute obstacle course, which I failed for the first time by dying. But with the second attempt, I rolled into a nebula while trying to grab a ring. Third time, and I dodged the nebulas, Valkyries, and Turtloids to finish Sky Chase. Wing Fortress begins, and I avoid the annoying platform section by being lifted up to then get hit by a clucker. From there, I damage boost past these propellers and basically cut about half the level. There isn't really much now because I'm at the Barrier Eggman boss. Some careful platforming and jumping finishes the boss and finishes Wing Fortress. At Death Egg, I cheese the Silver Sonic fight and take an entire 4 minutes to claim my victory against the Death Egg robot. For this, I was using the glide so that way I can bounce off of Eggman every single time I hit him rather than jumping directly into him and dying. And with that, Sonic 2 comes to a okay then. As I was saying, Sonic 2 comes to a Really? glitchy ending aside, Knuckles in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 comes to a close. I want to say something about this boss fight. I actually didn't know that you can use the spin dash to really cheese this boss fight and make it easier no matter which character you play as. I think that's really cool, and I would highly recommend doing this. So, can you beat Knuckles in Sonic 2 on iOS and Android without defeating a Badnik? Well, yeah. I think the original Sonic 2 video made it obvious that this wasn't going to be too difficult, with the exception of that yellow demon following me. It could be level memorization, but it could also be the fact that a certain fox isn't there to ruin my day. Oh, and something about gliding Red Boy over here breaking the levels. I thought his lower jump was going to be a real challenge, but Sonic 2 kind of gives itself up and lets me shatter it with this climbing and gliding. As for Sonic 2 on mobile as a whole, it's still the definitive way of playing Sonic 2. Even if you have to deal with the touch controls, it's still not a deal breaker. And if you have a controller to play it, then you'll have the absolute best experience with this game. So that'll do it for this edition of Sonic Without Defeating a Badnik. Like I said in the description of the Sonic 3 Knuckles video, you will not be able to guess what the next game is. So be ready for anything. And if you like this video, share it around, click the like button, and don't forget to join Knux Club by subscribing to the channel and clicking that bell icon to get notifications for whenever I upload or post something in the community tab. You can also come hang out with me over on my Twitch TV page, where I stream 3 days a week, and we play Sonic games, but we also play a bunch of other games there too, so it's a good time all around, so you should come hang out. At this time, I want to give a shout out to the members of Knux Club Plus. These are the members who are supporting the channel with a channel membership, and their names are on screen right now. And I want to give a huge thank you to all of them for their extra support. And if you want to join, you can click the join button below this video and check out the perks. See which ones you like. Don't forget to follow me for other updates and interactions with my social media links down below. And with that said, I hope you have a wonderful and safe day, and I'll catch you for the next Sonic Without Defeating a Badnik. Take care.
Let's take a dive in Aquatic.